MLB season is almost here. Well, I guess it's actually here. We're gonna go over MLB with he is an all-timer, Tokyo Brandon, #1 in all the categories, especially MLB. He's going to break down some opening day games. We're also going to go over the Houston Open with Sean Alvarez. We've got Art DiCesare coming in, and of course, we're going to wrap everything up with Gianni The Greek. But let's bring in Tokyo Brandon to get the show started. Guys, while you're watching the show, please hit the like button. Just a little token of appreciation for what we do. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you're enjoying about the show. Tell us the best bets and subscribe to the channel. But so, Tokyo, I have a love-hate relationship with you. I'll just be very honest. I love you.
Yeah.
But I hate that you always just nip me for the last 365 days and the last 2 years like profits. Like I'm always jumping back and forth, and it's always you, and you're always just like a little bit ahead of me. So if you weren't here, I'd be #1 all the time.
Yeah.
But the crown goes to you, brother. Your betting record is truly impeccable. Congratulations on that, and it is awesome to see you. How's life been?
Thanks. Yeah. Well, yeah, to a fellow #1 guy. You know, these rankings are fluid. I have been #1 3 of the last 4 years at WagerTalk. But as we know, you're only as good as you were yesterday. So, well, consistency is what it's all about. And you and I are #1, #2 in the last 365 days. So we're both doing great, it seems. And we got MLB around the corner, which is my forte. So I'm looking to throttle that baby and add a little more to the bankroll.
Well, I'm excited. Baseball season means profits from you. So let's start talking about some of these games here. We're talking about the Brewers and the Yankees, the Tigers and the Dodgers. Let's start with the Brewers and the Yankees. I have a couple notes here about the Dodgers. Like, how do they not win a million games this year?
Yeah.
But do you have any little concerns with what's going on with Mookie Betts right now? Or is this just kind of one of those preseason? Yeah, he's not feeling that good. Should be good.
It's concerning the fact that nobody knows what's wrong with him and the fact that he can't eat anything. So, you know, I guess in a fluid IV to get your nutrients is all he can do right now because he's just gacking everything that he eats. And it's not because he came to Japan. It was actually happening before he came to Japan. But when he came out here, it hit him harder and he couldn't eat anything. So, yeah, it's a little concerning. But as we saw, the Dodgers are so deep, so deep. They didn't need Mookie Betts. They didn't need Freddie Freeman, and they won 2 games in a row against a team that many are saying is a World Series contender in the Chicago Cubs. So I'm not worried about the Dodgers, but personally, yeah, I think Mookie Betts has a little bit of a problem, although he is in the starting lineup for tomorrow. So we'll see how he does, whether he's emaciated or I mean, he has lost almost 20 pounds in a month. So, you know, it might affect his power, but a good hitter doesn't really need power. And Mookie Betts has never been really a power hitter. He's probably the best leadoff guy in the game. So if he's in there, Ohtani was hitting leadoff in the Japan series, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not concerned about the Dodgers, but something is in Mookie Betts' stomach. It's like the alien or something. And yeah, it's a bit concerning.
If he does play, I'm looking at unders on his player prop for sure. I don't trust this at all.
I don't think he's seen live pitching, and they're going up against probably the #2 pitcher in all of Major League Baseball in Tarik Skubal. So yeah, it's going to be tough for him. I would say an under would be good for Mookie Betts. I don't think he's seen live pitching for a long time.
Well, let's break down that game, Tigers and Dodgers opening day. What do you expect from this game?
So, yeah, this is going to be, I mean, the Dodgers do have a power lineup, probably the best lineup in the history of MLB, if not at least since 1928. So, I think with 2 great starting pitchers, though, we've got Blake Snell and we've got Tarik Skubal. And I did a little research. You want to know how the Dodgers have fared against Tarik Skubal in his short career? He's held them under 200 in the batting average for all the individuals on the Dodgers, combined with a .570 OPS. So I've said this on shows before, but I consider 700 OPS to be kind of the Mendoza line, and then from there over under. So he's definitely under the Mendoza line as far as OPS is concerned against the Dodgers lifetime. Blake Snell, on the other hand, well, I shouldn't say on the other hand, Blake Snell also has held the Tigers in his long career, but short, brief appearances against the Tigers. He's got a 172 average against and a 639 OPS. So I like the under 3.5 in the first 5 innings in this game, despite the power that the Dodgers have. Skubal is just another animal. Skubal and Skeens are just other level kind of stuff. So I think under 3.5 in the first 5 is the way to go in this one.
You find yourself playing a lot more first 5 as opposed to full games over the last couple seasons?
I have not actually, but this is a tip I'm going to get to later in the segment. But on opening day, I think unders are the way to go, at least first 5, because we don't really know what to expect from bullpens, but they are all arrested. But no, I generally don't go first 5s, but we've got 2 great pitchers here. So I think first 5 is the way to go.
Tokyo Brandon's going to go over 3 betting tips to get you ready for Major League Baseball season, and he's got a special going, but let's talk about the Brewers and the Yankees here. Yankees, yikes. The hits just, well, I don't say the hits just keep on coming, but the pitchers keep on going. They're not off to a good start for this season. Let's talk a little bit about the Brewers and the Yankees, but kind of overall what to expect from this Yankees team. Obviously, it's one of the most public teams. They're always going to be a hot topic of conversation and betting-wise. What do you do with this Yankees team to start the year?
Yeah, there's always a Yankee tax, and there's always going to be a Dodger tax from now on, because the Dodgers, like I said, probably the best team in MLB history. Some conservative baseball fans might argue that the 1928 Dodgers are better, but I think the 1928 Yankees are better, but I think this Dodgers team is better. So with this Yankees team, what I'm doing is I did a little research, and I found out that Carlos Rodon has really good numbers against the Brewers in his career, and he's been around for a long time, and maybe his best days are behind him. But he's held the Brewers to a 222 average against and a 680 OPS. That's nothing to sneeze at. But what I really like is his career K per 9 against this team is 939, which is outrageously good. And when I run my database, I have a database that I use since I was a major league scout. And when I run it through, I project him with 6.7 strikeouts here. His over-under is 5.5. So I like Carlos Rodon to go over 5.5 strikeouts in this game. Now, I know opening day is a little bit of a risk because pitchers might get taken out a little bit early. But Rodon, he hits the ground running in his career. He's usually not the opening day starter, but in his first start, he generally does go quite long. So I'm pretty confident he'll stay in for 5 innings. And if he's in for 5 innings, I certainly think he'll get 6 strikeouts in this one.
Was that a 1928 reference?
The Yankees. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Considered one of the best lineups in history. Yes.
Cast the over on the 1928 Yankees reference. I had the under. I had the under on that. Darn it.
Yeah. Well, baseball fans generally are historians, and someone might say, hey, the 26 Yankees were better or something. But in any case, when they had Babe Ruth and all those guys, they considered the best lineup in history of MLB. But I beg to differ.
I couldn't tell you what I had for lunch yesterday, let alone what 1920s team was the best. So I am not a historian here. So Tokyo Brandon, one of the best baseball handicappers that anywhere, not just at WagerTalk, but anywhere. We're gonna go over 3 tips here. So everyone get your pens, get your Word documents. Brandon's gonna go over some tips. So we have 3 tips here, Brandon, on what you're looking for and tips for betting in the MLB. The floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you. Before I go to the tips, let me tell everyone that I do have a special for my whole season, MLB, Japanese, Korean, and Mexican baseball all together, full access the whole year for 55% off at my site. on WagerTalk. If you go to experts and find Tokyo Brandon, you'll find that deal. Let me get into these 3 tips. So these are tips that I have used in my betting career, and some of these tips will save you some money. So the first tip that I'm going to give out is some pitchers hit the ground running on opening day, and some pitchers get jerked very early. As we saw in the Tokyo series, Imanaga was throwing a no-hitter and got taken out in the 4th inning. So you got to look at how managers treat their pitchers on opening day if you're going to bet any pitcher props. Like I said earlier, Rodon, his manager generally gives him a long leash on opening day. Other pitchers get taken out very quickly. So make sure if you're going to bet any kind of pitcher prop on opening day that you check if that manager generally takes them out early or not at the beginning of the season. A lot of guys, they're going for longevity, not for one win, but other guys are going for the win. Tip number 2 is, I've said this many times, so if you've seen a lot of my videos, you've heard this from me before, but don't bet home run props because they're sucker bets. I can get into the math with you. Quick math. Ohtani, probably the best home run hitter, if not the second best. He hits a home run once every 3 or 4 games. You should be getting plus 500 for an Ohtani home run prop, but you'll never get plus 500. You'll only get plus 180. It's horrible odds. If you make a living off of betting home run props, you will get ripped off and you will lose all your money. You might win one. It's like a lottery ticket, but generally home run bets are sucker bets. Last tip, on the opening day, the bullpens are all rested and the starting pitchers are all rested, and the hitters generally will come out a little bit cold. Very risky to bet overs on opening day. I'm sure someone's going to come up and say, hey, I won an over last season. I'm sure there are outliers to this, but generally we're going to expect some low scores on opening day. Now, someone's going to come back and say, hey, all the games were 12-6. I could be wrong, but generally speaking, everyone's rested. The hitters are a little cold and jittery. So unders are the way to go on opening day in general. Those are my tips.
Love it. And yes, please don't bring up one game as an example. This is long term, big picture.
Yeah, every time I say the home run props or sucker bets, there's one guy who's going to write, I just won $3,000 and betting $10 that Juan Soto will hit 2 home runs in one game. Yeah, bet that every game and see how it goes for you. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So don't bring up the flyer, because if you're going to do this long term as a profession or as a side gig to make money in the long term, what you have to do is take the probabilities and bet the probabilities, not just an outlier that Juan Soto is going to hit 2 home runs today. So that's my advice, guys.
Charlie wants to know if he buys the season pass, is the hat included? Charlie, you will have enough money to buy a bunch of hats just for yourself. How about that? So, are the playoffs included in this, Brandon?
Yes, up to the World Series, they are included. And actually, preseason was included as well. And by the way, that full access pass expires on April 1st. So you got maybe 2 or 3 days to get it.
If you are betting MLB, I would say Tokyo is a must-have for your portfolio. Always does a great job.
Entity. I like that name.
What's that?
Unknown Entity. That's great.
We've got some great handles in there. Unknown Entity is pretty good. Leg Show Magazine is OG. He's goated in as well. So, yes, absolutely.
Nice.
So, all right, Brandon. Well, good luck, brother. Let's have another great MLB season. Can't wait to talk to you again. Keep pounding away and keep grinding, brother. Have a good one. All right, we are going to move on to Sean Alvarez. We got a golf tournament this week, the Houston Open. We're going to give you a long shot. We're going to give you a top 20. Sean, first off, how you doing? Hope everything is well. And are you ready for the rain for the first couple days at this tournament, unfortunately?
Yeah, that's definitely an unfortunate thing that we're going to have to deal with. But, it's not necessarily a course that I don't think is going to be hindered by the rain. I don't think it's going to really affect kind of our plays. But happy to be here. Very tough act to follow with Tokyo Brandon giving out 1928 Yankees lineups. And my favorite is his Seinfeld license plate reference in the background. I can't stop looking at that when he's on. So
Yeah. Let's talk this tournament. We just got done with the Florida swing. We're moving to Texas. Two huge names are in this one, Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. And then it kind of falls off a cliff here a little bit. So let's talk about a head-to-head matchup, though. Sahith Theegala and Ben Griffin. Who do you like in this one?
yeah, so I really like the way that Sahith is playing. He's really hitting his irons well. He's playing a lot better than his stats are kind of giving out. He's never really been a good Florida swing player, which is odd considering his residence is in Jupiter, but he just never really plays well there. And we kind of saw that at the Players. We saw it at Bay Hill. He had a decent, finish with the tie 20 or 36 at Copperhead last week, but just bled strokes on his approach game. And now we're going to get a course that, if you look at the scorecard, it's a par 70, almost reaching out to 7,500 yards. If you put that into perspective, Torrey Pines South is 7,800, par 72. So very similar on the scorecard, yet they're going to play drastically different. Yes, it's going to play a little bit longer in the rain, but if you look at the buckets of, what a lot of these tour pros hit into these greens on this course, it's a lot of between 100 yards and 150 yards. So drastically different than the long irons that we saw last week. And Sahith is really good with his wedges that we've seen kind of more on the desert swings at TPC Scottsdale and whatnot. But if you put a wedge in his hand, he doesn't necessarily need to bomb it off the tee. He is playing a lot better than his stats are showing. And then you go at Ben Griffin, and I think his stats are a little bit skewed because of his two pretty good finishes in the Mexico Open and at the PGA National with two top, tied for fourth finishes. But if you look at what he did the last 2 weeks, he missed the cut and he just bled strokes off the tee, couldn't putt, couldn't get up and down. Yeah, we're definitely going to need to lean on, getting up and down. These are at Memorial in Houston. It's definitely tough to get up and down. Scrambling is big. And I just don't like the way that he's playing as opposed to how Sahith is playing. So I like Sahith Theegala minus 110 full tournament matchup.
This is really good actionable info. That's something we can all play. Sean, I know you're having a really good golf year. Let's keep it going with a prop. Really nice plus money prop on a top 20. Who do you like this week?
Yeah, we kind of got a little bit last week with Joe Highsmith, but we're going to go back to the well. He kind of flared one off the tee on 18, had a terrible lie, couldn't get up and down, just missed the top 20 with the T22. But he's hitting the ball really well. And if you look at what he's doing across the board, he's gaining strokes on the field off the tee and approach around the green, putting. And he just, like I said, he's playing well, and it's a very top heavy field. Like you mentioned, we've got Rory, we've got Scotty, and then I think that the next betting odds is JJ Spawn, who, if he doesn't do what he did at TPC Sawgrass, he's 100 to 1. So it's a very top heavy field. I feel like top 20 is definitely a viable option for somebody that's playing really good golf. And like you said, I'm getting plus 210 on. He just needs to literally get in the top 20. I don't need him to win the tournament. I don't need him to beat Scotty. He doesn't need to be a world beater, but top 20 plus 210. That's kind of where I'm cutting my teeth this week.
Scotty Scheffler barely finished in the top 20 last week. He worries me, man. Like, I'm not playing any outrights on Scotty Scheffler. I'm not playing him head to head as a big favorite against Rory McIlroy. This is a guy that was like number one in the world, like by a long shot. And now I feel like he's kind of unbettable, which opens the doors for these guys like Joe Highsmith. Are you in any rush to bet on Scotty Scheffler these days?
I am definitely not in a rush to bet Scotty. Obviously, he's the number one, player in the world for good reason, but we haven't seen what he did last year, this year. Yes, he had, the injury trying to, cut a ravioli with a wine glass.
Ravioli.
But, he hasn't bounced back yet, and trying to swallow 3.5 to 1 to beat the entire field. I'm not rushing in line to bet Scotty. Actually, like we did at Sawgrass, I would prefer getting plus money on Rory over Scotty if I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Scotty Scheffler cutting his hand where he needed surgery of ravioli. That has to go in some of the Hall of Fames for some of the most ridiculous injuries. I know was there a hockey goalie cut his hand making a sandwich? I know Sammy Sosa threw out his back sneezing, and I remember Carlos Boozer tripped over luggage and was out for 3 months. I just love some of these random injuries that kind of have nothing to do with the sport that they actually play. If you're in the chat and you could remember some of these random injuries, put it in the chat. These professional athletes that somehow get hurt doing everyday chores in everyday life. So great stuff, Sean. Let's take a look at a long shot. This one surprised me. You're back in Taylor.
Well, back in Taylor Moore at 55-1. Copperhead just was not the course for him. He hits the ball long, hits the ball high. He doesn't shape the ball very well. And with those tall trees lining the fairway, it was never going to play into his favor. Now, again, we're getting back to a course where he can kind of play more target golf. He doesn't need to bomb it off the tee. He needs to land it in specific spots. And then, like I said, he's one of the better players with a wedge in his hand, and he's going to have wedges in his hand the entire tournament. So again, like I said, betting Scotty at 3.5-1, I'm not doing that. We're going to look for a little bit of a reach, if you will. And I do really like the way that Taylor's playing. I will absolutely throw out last week. That was never going to be his course. I like the way he played at the Players. He played well at the PGA National. Give me 55-1. I'm not taking 3.5 on Scotty.
No way. Those odds are so crazy. He hasn't even finished first or second yet this year. But listen, books know that he's a big name, and I'm sure they're getting plenty of action on that. So, Sean, tell everybody what you have up at WagerTalk. And again, congrats. You're having a great golf season so far.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've got a golf package up for this week in the Houston Open. And obviously tomorrow we'll be starting MLB with opening day. We got the Masters coming up. We've got the Kentucky Derby and horse racing. So if you're a fan of baseball, golf, or horse racing, come find my page.
Love it. Great stuff. That's Sean Alvarez. Once again, the chat coming through huge. We've got some of these sports injuries. These are Wade Boggs taking off his cowboy boots. That's a great one. Trevor Bauer cutting his hand on a drone. Jim, thank you. Craig Anderson was the goalie cutting his steak. Oh, yes. Missed the ALCS due to injury from playing Guitar Hero. I remember the Guitar Hero. And yes, of course, we had to bring up Pierre Paul with the fireworks incident. So great job in the chat. Keep them coming if you could. Guys, we only got a few likes. If you are at work and you are enjoying the show and we're helping you kill time at work, hit the like button. But even if you're not at work, if you're just watching this after the fact, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel here. So, all right, we got Art DiCesare coming on. I imagine this is just one of the more busy times of year. Art, my man, how is it going? How is college basketball season? Is this your favorite or least favorite busy time of year?
Andy, what's up, man? It's a pleasure to be here. With the injury stuff, I think Ricky Henderson got frostbite on his ankle or wrist because he fell asleep. He was in the locker room taking a nap, icing something, and got frostbite. I'm pretty sure that was Ricky Henderson because only Ricky Henderson that could happen to. Listen, I love this time of year, man. This time of year is great. College basketball is a very fun sport to book. There's obviously, it's a hard sport to book because, throughout the season, it's a sharp sport. It's really not a public sport. So once we get to the tournament, the public money and the public dollars actually overwhelm the sharp action. So it actually makes it a little bit easier. And, the public did not have a really good first weekend here because none of the dogs came through for them. Very chalky. And with baseball about to start and NBA and NHL playoffs about to start, this is a great time of the year, my friend.
All right, well, let's start going through the games. I guess we can start with Thursday games. We got BYU, Alabama, Maryland, Florida, Arizona, Duke, Arkansas, and Texas Tech. What do you got for us?
All right, so I'm just going to break it down by the regions. I'm going to go region by region. I'm going to start in the South. Michigan, Auburn. seen really good over money. We opened 151.5. We're now 154. Open Auburn 8. And we actually moved up to 9 there. So we've seen money on Auburn. I think eventually there will be some buy on Michigan because the number's pretty high, but we haven't seen that Michigan money yet. The other game in the South, Ole Miss, Michigan State. Very interesting because Ole Miss obviously, battle tested with a really good, obviously in the SEC, and a really good tournament coach in Chris Beard. This is the lowest spread on the board. We opened Michigan State 4, saw some Ole Miss money come in at 4. We are 3.5. Really no move on the total as of yet. In the East, Arizona and Duke. The number is 9.5. I expect it to go up. Just like the Baylor game, when we opened 12, closed 13.5. I expect this Duke number to probably get to 10, 10.5, maybe even 11. Over money has also come in on an opener of 152. We're now 154. BYU and Alabama, two just offensive juggernauts. We know the total is going to be high. The total is extremely high. We opened 172.5. We're now 176. A little bit of money on Bama at 4.5 moved us to 5, but really nothing crazy. We just kind of moved with the market on that one. In the West, Maryland and Florida, we opened this one 5. We're now 6.5. I expect this to even go up further, maybe 7, 7.5. I think Maryland's very overmatched in this game. Florida might have gotten their clunker out of the way in that tough game against UConn that they probably should have lost, but Clayton went crazy in the game. Total went up on this one as well, 155 to 158. This, to me, is the most interesting game. Arkansas and Texas Tech opened 5.5. We haven't budged off it, and we've seen good two-way money. We've seen Arkansas get a little bit of money, and we've seen Texas Tech get a little bit of money. I'm shocked by that. I thought the people would come in and bet Texas Tech and figure the ride was over for Arkansas. That has been the opposite. They have wanted to take a little bit of Arkansas and take a little bit of Arkansas on the money line as well. You'll see a lot of that this week with underdogs. Money line sprinkles are all over the board. And then the last region in the Midwest, Purdue and Houston. We opened 7.5. We're now 8.5. So, no surprise that the Houston money's come in. Now, Purdue is playing close to home in Indianapolis. Total's really been bet down. 133.5, now 131. Obviously, Houston plays a grind-out style game. They want to play under. Purdue wants to shoot threes and maybe get the game over. So the initial money, sharp, by the way, is under. And Kentucky, Tennessee's seen really good two-way action. We opened Tennessee 5. We've seen money on Kentucky at 5. We've seen money on Tennessee at 4.5. So that's been really good two-way action. Obviously it's an SEC battle. This is the third time they're playing. Kentucky has beat them twice. So that's a game that's going to be heavily bet. And Kentucky's always a big name, so they always receive public money as well.
Nice, great stuff from Art DiCesare. Art, was there a game this tournament that sticks out where you were like, oh man, that was a bad number? We start off. Was there one that just jumps out? You're like, oh man, they got us on that one.
It might be the Duke game and against Baylor, and I think, and we might run into this with this Arizona game. Now, Arizona to me is better than Baylor, but maybe we're underrating Duke. That seems crazy. Like, I don't know. Like, for us to put up an 11.5, 12, and then for it to close 13.5, and both the public and the sharps were willing to lay it. Obviously, the public came late and laid 12.5 and 13, but the sharps laid 12 right away. So, I don't know. Maybe this number seems a little light to me. Like I said, I think it's going to get over 10 with it sitting 9.5 right now. I wouldn't be shocked if that thing against Arizona closed 10.5 or 11. It's crazy to think the team who is favored to win is probably a little underrated, but maybe we are underrating Duke a little bit.
Love it. Any MLB futures that you guys have big liabilities on? Actually, before we get on, I was like, I wonder if Art is just constantly rooting against the Dodgers. Like, are they just are they like the most public team where it's like you every day you're like, God, the damn Dodgers.
You know what we're rooting for, Andy, every day? We're actually rooting for the Dodgers to win by 1 every day. Because they come in, they just lay the run line every day. They don't even mess with the money line. They're not laying $1.60, $2, $2.50, $3. They're not doing it. They're going to lay the run line. And I'll tell you what's also been very popular, and it stems back to last year as well. Dodger team totals over. So if we have a 4.5, it's going to be heavily juiced. Even if we have a 5.5, it might be juiced a little bit. Where you normally are sitting something that's not in Colorado, obviously. Normally you sit with a 5.5 on the Dodgers. Maybe you're juiced to the under. Sometimes we're flat -110 or even -115, -120 because we're daring someone to bet the under. Nobody wants to come and bet the under on the Dodgers. So technically, yes, we root against the Dodgers every day, but especially on the run line.
All right, let's real quick. What's your favorite play in the NCAA tournament in this round? What's Art's best bet? What's your favorite play on the board?
I think it's Texas Tech. I think it's a light number. I think 5.5. And I'm shocked by the two-way action on it. I think the number should be more 6, 6.5, maybe close 7. And the fact that it hasn't budged yet. Listen, Arkansas has been great. They're athletically wonderful. Calipari's a fine coach. But Texas Tech has 10 times the offense St. John's does. St. John's was brutal in that game offensively. Texas Tech is not going to be brutal offensively. I think maybe it'll be close early, but I think Texas Tech pulls away and wins by at least 10 in the game. So laying 5.5 to me is very light. And speaking of a couple of futures that you said for the MLB, a couple of team totals that have seen a lot of action. A lot of action on the Reds over, a lot of action on the Red Sox over, a lot of action on the Marlins under, and a lot of action on the Padres under. 2 overs, 2 unders to keep your eye on that we've seen really good action on. Moving, numbers almost 2.5 wins on a couple of those.
That's a big move for you, isn't it? Just a couple wins in futures.
Oh, absolutely. If you're going to open we open, I believe the Padres 86.5, and we're now down to 84. I mean, that's huge. Now, don't get me wrong. You're always going to get nibbles on the other side because people can get two-way numbers and maybe find a middle. So we will get nibbles back, but man, that's been a constant stream of under money that's come in on someone like the Padres, someone like the Marlins. I believe the Marlins we've moved from 63.5 all the way to 62. The Reds opened 76 or 78.5. So you've seen really good moves on those. And the Reds, to me, is more public. That seemed to be the most public of the 4 plays, not necessarily sharp money, whereas the other 3 are really sharp.
And then last question, how much action do you get on the NIT?
Well, we have to book those totals high because it feels like, they all go over. So when we're opening numbers, we're trying to go at least a point over the market. A lot of times the money comes in and then we move even further. You've seen some of those totals move 3, 4, 5 points. So we do get action on the smaller tournaments, Andy, but not public money, as you could imagine, more sharp money. There are not recreational bettors who are going to come in on a Tuesday or Wednesday and look to bet the NIT, look to bet the Crown, which is going to be here in Vegas. I will say this, though. The women's tournament has been wonderful. Both public and sharp money. There's been a ton of action. We've tried to put out more women's college basketball content, even player props, things of that nature, first and second half. So the women's game has seen a big growth as well.
Love it. If you're in Vegas, go see Art. Go see Art at the WestGate. Nobody does it better. Art, tell everyone where we can find you at on social media, when you're at the WestGate and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. On X, Twitter, at ArtDice21. Always putting out some stuff there, tweeting out what we're doing. And listen, like Andy said, if you're down in the Westgate, come by, say hi, ask for me. I'm more than happy to pop out, give you a couple minutes, walk you through some stuff, show you where sheets are, get some free drink tickets in you, show you how to get a pod or, open seating, whatever it may be. So don't feel that you can't come in and ask for me. I'm more than happy to come out and give a couple of minutes.
I love it. Art DiCesare from the WestGate. Art, thanks for doing this every week. Appreciate it. We're going to bring on Gianni in just a second. We've got a couple plays up for myself and my crew. NBA Hidden Gem is up. The Hidden Gems in NBA have just been absolutely fantastic. 38-16 run with those. And this is only going to be our 6th 3% play. Most of our NBA plays are 2%. We're perfect 5-0 on 3% plays in the NBA. So that play goes off tonight. So go ahead and grab that. We also have our 5% UFC best bet that is up 7-1 in 5% plays in 2025. So had 8 of them, won 7 of them. So these big bets are cashing really, really good. Happy with all of that. And if you're interested, we do have our free Discord. Working with WagerTalk to spice it up and make it really killer right now. It's just a free Discord. It's called Winning in the Shadows, and we have tons of free things in there. We have free plays. We also have a free downloadable spreadsheet that you guys could use to track all your own plays. It's very detailed. If you do not have a spreadsheet to track your own plays, you're really, really missing out, and that is free. Absolutely free to everybody. One of our members designed it, and it is fantastic. We also have a spreadsheet that tracks bankrolls, so you can put in your starting bankroll and do every week, kind of do the reset. We started with $10,000 82 weeks ago, and we're at 43,000. So all of that is free in the Winning in the Shadows Discord. I encourage everyone to go over there. A lot of really good handicappers. We're going to bring on Gianni. I do got to bring up a betting tip for tonight. Looking at this Celtics Suns game, it looks like Tatum's going to be out, doubtful with the sprained ankle. The Celtics are 5-1 this season, and they're averaging 117 points per game. Suns have won 4 straight over Eastern Conference teams like Milwaukee, Cleveland, Chicago, Toronto. They're averaging 121 points. Kevin Durant's going ballistic. Total for the game is only 220. That seems low. The Celtics team total is 112.5. Suns team total is 107.5. I kind of like the overs in that game. Also, a player prop in that one, Ryan Dunn, over 1.5 made threes. He's in the starting lineup now. Minutes are way up. Shot attempts are way up. He's up to 26 minutes per game and 6 3-point shots per game. Not shooting a great percentage, but he's gone over in 6 straight games with this big workload. So keep your eye on those plays for the Celtics and the Suns game. Let's bring in Gianni, as we always do, to close out the show. I got to say something, Gianni. When I first came to WagerTalk, I had my own podcast, and I asked Johnny if somebody would come on the podcast with me, and you said yes. And I will always remember that, and I will never forget that you were the one that said, yes, I will come on and do this new guy's podcast. So I don't think I've ever told you that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, bro. I always liked it because, again, so many people helped me to get to where I got in sports betting world. I was fortunate to surround myself by men that were a lot smarter than me, a lot sharper than me. And I just learned, I just absorbed. And they were decent enough not only to teach me, but then some of them that actually were guys that were online would share their platforms with me when I had absolutely no following or anything like that. So it's the least you could do for people that you see coming up and working hard and putting in the work. Like, you're putting in the work. Like, if I didn't see that you were putting in the work, you were trying, whether it was 3 followers or 3,000, you were still getting up and doing the work. That's what's commendable, because it's most people, that's when they give up. They'll do something. It's like dieting. You know what I mean? The beginning of the year, everybody's dieting. Everybody's getting a gym membership. But by February, if they don't look like they should be on the cover of Muscle and Fitness, they're like, I'm done with this. I'm going back to eating well again, you know? And it's the same I say when everybody asks me, so many young people come up, how do I build? How do I build in this industry? How do I get involved in the industry? And I always say the same thing, outwork everybody else. Meaning that, don't look at it as competition or anything bad, but if you outwork people, no matter, even if they're sharper than you, if they're smarter than you, after a long enough time, they can't catch up. Like, if you're willing to put in 40 hours, but I'm willing to put in 80 hours, after a week, after a month, I put in 320 hours more than you. After a year, I put in 4,000 hours more than you. Within 5 years, I put in 20,000 hours more than you. There's no way you're catching up. Like, there's nothing you could do to catch up with me by that point. And I actually took that from back in the day when me and Johnny first met each other. And I was getting up there. I was doing 4 a.m. radio show in Virginia, West Virginia, just because they asked me. And I'm like, the only people listening to me are 3 coal miners on their way to work that definitely ain't buying picks. But it gave me an opportunity to hone my skill, to get better at it, to get more comfortable behind the mic, get more comfortable speaking on the radio and having a conversation with a host that you don't even know, haven't even met. And it's that kind of work that I saw your work ethic, honestly, that I was like, there's no way I could say no. Sometimes it's just time you just don't have the time. But if there was ever time and opportunity, I never, ever, ever turned down workers, bro. Guys that I knew were coming up and were doing well. Look at you now. It's the work. That's the product of your hard work. It's not the product of luck. And nothing like that. It's not you're smarter than somebody else. Nothing like that. It has to do with hard work. You're willing to put in the work, and even when it's hardest. It's easy when you're winning, bro. It's easy to get up and be happy and produce content when you're winning. It's what do you do when you're running cold? Are you still addressing your audience? Are you still getting up and doing that video and doing that content when there's only 3 people now watching instead of 300 when you were hot? And you did that. And that's why everything is you're self-made. And I respect that more than anything else, bro. So congratulations. And this is just the beginning of where you're headed. Continued success ahead, bro. Continued success. I always cheer guys like that in. Always, always, always.
Well, you also heard it here first. Gianni said, "I'm not smarter than anybody else." So, Gianni, let's talk college basketball.
No disrespect. I just always say I never want to be the smartest guy. I know you're joking, but I never want to be the smartest guy in the room. Like there's some people that's their downfall. I know some really smart guys, really intelligent guys, but that's their downfall, where they feel they have to be the smartest guy in the room. So even if someone has the best idea, they can't follow through on that idea because it wasn't theirs. And I always felt like I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. I want to absorb everybody else's knowledge. I have no problem, no ego with that at all. So I'm sure your intelligence is very high. I'm sure if you took an IQ test, we'd be impressed. But I'm just saying, surround yourself by smarter people. Just like they say, if you're a fighter, fight tougher guys. You don't want to go to the gym and beat up white belts. You want to go to the gym and go against black belts, guys that you know is probably going to kick your ass, but that's how you're going to learn.
As an entrepreneur, that was a lesson that has cost me a lot of money. You do not want to be the smartest guy at your business. That lesson has been an expensive lesson.
Andy. You and me both, brother.
So to learn, yes, you want to be the dumbest guy in the room.
It's pretty easy. It's easy for me.
Yeah, right. Let's talk college basketball. We just had Art DiCesare on. A lot of line movement. So we heard it from Art's perspective. What are you seeing with the lines, and what are you guys betting?
So far tonight, the only move that we didn't bet, but a group that I do share stuff with, they send me theirs, I send them ours. They bet the over in Kent, Loyola Chicago. They bet over 140.5 all the way up to 142. It's the same guys that came in and bet Cleveland State last night and drove that line up, even hit it second time, third time. Now they're just coming in on that. As far as the Sweet 16, I'm seeing the exact same thing that I think Art's seeing. And they're betting every game over, every single game over, Andrew. I don't see and it's not the betting syndicates. The betting syndicates are getting out ahead on some of these overs. And I always tell on Last Call, and I always say it on WagerTalk Today, if you're following steam, if you're trying to get on the sharp side, be careful with these totals, especially early on, and especially in public games, because a lot of times, if their intention is to go under, they know they could get out ahead of the market. Like if they bet the over, you put it through a labeled account that's sharp, you bet the over a little bit, and the book knows, oh my God, we're going to get 80% of the money from the public on over in Duke, Arizona. We're going to get 70+% on over Maryland and Florida. We're going to get over in Purdue and Houston. I could just make a couple limit bets for nickels on the over early in the week. The book's now terrified because it's not just the sharps on it. The public's going to be on it. We're going to have so much risk on these games. So they bump up the total even higher than they otherwise would, because it's that time of the year where there's just more public money than sharp money, and it starts to outweigh it. So they'll bump it up and hope to get some resistance back the other way. And they end up getting it from the very group that actually wanted the under, not the over, later in the week, more or less an hour, 2 hours before game time. Because now instead of having to go under 154, they get to go under 156, a much better number than they would have either. And, I get it's a zero-sum game. So if other groups see that, oh, wait, this line's too high, we're going to get the under as well, it doesn't matter, because there's so much public money outweighing short money, especially when you get down to the 316, Elite Eight, Final Four, National Championship. They're isolated games. It's almost comparable to a Super Bowl, just not the amount of volume. But you're going to get people that are just betting that particular game, and the bias is going to be to the favorites and over. So I'm seeing nothing but over money on all of these college basketball games in the Sweet 16. The heaviest overs, like I said, is BYU, Alabama, Duke, Arizona, and Florida, Maryland. Those three, they're betting it over like they're expecting 200 points. They're already parlaying stuff from early in the week. Like they'll bet an NBA. I see it in the back end all the time. They'll take an NBA team that's minus 900 money line, and they'll parlay it with their Sweet 16 pick just to have a little extra on that bet. And so I'm already seeing like this is what they like. And what I'm seeing is They're like Duke. They're already parlaying it with Duke. They're already parlaying it with Florida, and they're already parlaying it with Houston. Duke, Florida, Houston will be the biggest exposure for the sports books come Sweet 16. Like, if one of those teams go down on the money line, it's going to be a great day for the sports books. If one or two of them don't cover the spread ATS, even if they win on the money line, it's going to be a great day for the sports books. But if all three of those teams cover the spread, it's not going to be a good day. You're going to see a lot of 3, 4, 5 team parlays click for the public. So that's pretty much what's going on in college basketball as we approach Sweet 16 tomorrow night.
Great. We're going to let you get out of here in just a second. You got any early UFC thoughts on any numbers that have moved that have kind of surprised you or anything that you're in on?
Yeah, actually, the guy that I work with doesn't mind when I share stuff, and I only release it to my subscribers when I already have a lean. Like, that's what I do with all games, like with basketball, NBA, college basketball. I do my work, and then if I see the groups that I'm moving for come in on that side, it gives me more confidence. It makes me feel better about that bet, and I'll release it to subscribers as well. What we have going in the NFL and UFC, I can already share with you. Lupita Godinez, we bet her immediately. And I think she's on short notice, and I usually avoid those short notice fights, but I just think stylistically, this is a matchup that really, really favors her against Pilastri. We laid 195 minus 200. She's all the way up to minus 230. So we got ahead of the market there. And last night, same guy, same group came in on Ronaldo Rodriguez. Ronaldo Rodriguez at minus 135, minus 140. Not exactly sure where that price standing right now. I haven't looked at the UFC lines, but I can tell you I like that play as well. I released that immediately as a 4% play to my subscribers because I liked Rodriguez. I was like, I thought I wouldn't be able to bet it because I'm like, everybody's going to bet Rodriguez. And these guys going to come in opposite of my lean. And when they came in on that at minus 135, I said, I'm getting down as well. So Godinez and Rodriguez so far for me.
You know what's crazy is I did a segment yesterday on this very show about Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah.
How much I loved him.
I know you've been running real well in the UFC.
Yeah, I loved it. I had a bad Saturday. It was our first bad one of the year, really. I love Rodriguez, man. I see he's got that dog in him, man.
Yeah.
You are not finishing that guy. It's just not going to happen. That guy will have to be wheeled out of the octagon.
I love it. I love it when we line up on the same side. Nothing makes me happier. Just like sometimes you never get happier when you see guys that are just unlucky, like some of my friends that I know, they just can't win. You know what I mean? They just find a way to lose. And it's like when they come opposite, I hate to say it, but sometimes it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Like, okay, now I know I'm on the right side.
Love it. Gianni, what do you have up at WagerTalk?
I got a UFC package. I have a Friday Sweet 16 package up. And today I'm going to put up my Thursday Sweet 16 because I have a 5% play. I've only give out 3 college basketball 5% the entire 2024-2025 season. I've hit 2 out of 3 of those and isolated one for Thursday. So that package will be up within the next 60 minutes on WagerTalk. So looking forward to college basketball next couple of days. And of course, baseball is up. I've got 7 season win totals up there in a package. Last 2 years, 100% on those. Not saying I could sustain 100% on a few. Feel pretty confident that the information's solid because it comes from the very same groups. I like most of the same totals. So make sure you get down on that before the season starts because expecting a good baseball season, brother. And thank you again for having me on and continued success ahead. Wish you cashed that 5% on Saturday and keep kicking ass, brother. Cheering you in.
Thanks, Gianni. Appreciate it. God, he always brings the energy. Like there's nobody brings the energy like you do, man. Every single day. It's such a treat. Thank you so much, Gianni.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Can't wait to talk to you tomorrow. So, all right, guys, we are up against it real quick. If you haven't hit the like button, please go ahead and do that. If you haven't subscribe to the channel, go ahead and do that as well. Make sure you leave us a comment in the comment section. Shout out to the chat. You guys were awesome today. Like always, we got a great show tomorrow. Don't forget to grab that NBA Hidden Gem best bet that is up, as well as the 5% UFC best bet, and join our free Discord. A lot of great handicappers in there, like-minded people that treat their bankroll like a business, a lot of free tools and a lot of free plays. All right, we're going to do this again tomorrow. We're going to be talking some UFC, and of course, we're going to be talking a lot of college basketball. Good luck on everyone's plays, and we will see everyone tomorrow.